The ultimate football fan is now here.
All the biggest fan channels in one place.
Flex nightstand.
100% Chelsea.
Arsenal Fan TV.
All about the fans.
Why is he on the fucking pitch? What for what?
Exclusive content only here.
Hello, boys and girls, and welcome to
The UFF Daily Football Show.
The #1 source, everything going on in the football world, daily.
UFF, do what you have to do.
Hello and welcome to FanPark Live, head-to-head in association with history. It is the last of our head-to-head battles tonight. And we are literally comparing two of the greatest players of European and international football of the ever. We really, really are, in Marco van Basten and Jurgen Klinsmann, the original Jurgen that we saw over here in the UK. Joined in the studio tonight by Adam and by Drifty. How you doing, gentlemen? We all good?
Not too bad, not too bad.
You guys ready for this?
I'm ready.
Good, good. Before we continue, remember, this is history's build-up to the World Cup. # history of football. Some amazing TV shows, films, documentaries and debates, all on History's channel. And you can get that whether you're on Sky, Virgin or Freeview. All the information for that is in the description below. Been trending on Twitter, # history of football for an entire week. There's still one more week, as I say, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week of footage. Go and learn, go and teach yourself about the history of football. Absolutely amazing over there on History. But tonight, as I say, Drifty is taking Marco van Basten. Adam is looking at Jurgen Klopp. We're going to jump straight in. Did I say, this is the problem? Jurgen is on my mind. There you go, Jurgen Klinsmann. I was going to say Klinsmann, it'll make it easy. I'm not going to say that name, Jurgen, anymore. I've said it a lot in the last few days. Praise, actually. Why? Yeah. No, I don't know. Oh. Something happened about a week ago.
Oh, about a week ago.
Yeah, there we go.
Let's not.
We're gonna jump into this straight away. Remember, we do have a Twitter poll that's currently up. Abs is going to put that up on the screen for us now. Van Basten currently winning in a voting poll at the moment of who was better, with 75% of the vote clearly to 25% for Klinsmann. So go check out that poll on the Ultimate Football Fan Twitter page and cast your vote, and smash the retweet button as well. We need you guys to go out there and retweet it for us. Give us a better sort of number of people voting, gives us a clearer indication of who you think is better. We're going to look first of all the goals these two scored. That's the first thing we're gonna touch on. Which you two gentlemen wants to go first?
Drifty should go first.
Drifty. Right. Van Basten, his goals that he scored at club and international level. Tell us about it.
Well, obviously, as he was kind of ahead of my time, this was a lot more based on like research. Obviously, I didn't live through this guy's career. And if I'm honest with you, it was extremely fun actually learning about this guy, because you hear a lot of people talk about him in the olders. You know, they talk about the Cruyffs and the Pelés, and it's like, it's a shame I didn't get to live it. So I felt like I lived it a little bit with the research I did for this. This man was an absolutely phenomenal player. Like, when I mean a phenomenal player, I mean he scored goals with his head, he could score volleys, he had power, he scored goals from 40 yards, goals from 2 yards, he could skip past people. In the compilation, I think there was about 50 goals of just going around goalkeepers. Like, literally, it's just like one-on-one with a goalie, shimmy, he was round him. He literally had everything.
And that's a hard thing to do, because when you watch someone like Van Basten do it, he made it look easy. But you see games week in, week out, players go one-on-one with a goalkeeper. Most don't have the bottle to try and go around him.
And he just made, it's like he perfected it. Like, literally, he'd actually dummy the keeper into diving for him and just drag it away from him. And just, like, he was an amazing goal scorer, amazing. I think it was 218 career goals at club level. And then I think he had 44 goals for international level. Yeah.
And we've got the graphics going up on the screen now, actually. You can see 5 goals scored across World Cups and Euros for Van Basten. Jurgen Klopp-wise, goal scoring. Klinsmann. Let's do it again. Shoot me down. It's been a long 3 weeks. Klinsmann, he's goal scoring. Tell us about it.
I think as good as Van Basten was, there's one crucial stat that I looked at, and similarly to you, I didn't live through them despite how old I look. So again, it was all to do with research. And one thing I noticed was that Van Basten never hit double figures internationally in a season. One thing I noticed for Jurgen Klinsmann, is that he did hit double figures. So as much as we can say that he was that Van Basten scored all these types of goals and he did this, bearing in mind he played for an excellent Holland team, Netherlands team, implementing the total football, which dominated like international, domestically, all of those types of things. Jurgen Klinsmann, similarly to Maradona in a way, dragged his Germany team, captained his Germany team, hit double figures, and that's something that Van Basten never did. So if we're talking about goals and goals alone, I know we're going to get onto other things later, for me, Klinsmann edges it. Just because of that simple fact, he had a consistent scoring record, which actually bettered Van Basten.
I mean, it's an interesting one. To give you guys, some of the graphics have already been up. If you look at club level, very similar. 282 goals for Klinsmann and 278 goals for Van Basten. However, Klinsmann played getting close towards 300 games more because Van Basten's career was cut short due to injury. So on an actual goals being scored, on a goal per game ratio, Van Basten absolutely destroys it.
Which is what I was going to get to. I mean, he had 7 years less of playing time.
That's true.
You know what I mean? Like, that's a long time at the top level. So gave Klinsmann a chance to get all those extra goals. You know what I mean?
That is true. However, I think he was averaging like a goal a game in his first couple of years as a player, and he was steadily decreasing towards the end. I think he started scoring like 1 in 3, 1 in 4. So there's every reason to believe that.
So you're saying he'd done a bit of a Rooney, started off great and then burnt out.
So had he continued, there's every reason to believe that he would have declined even more in the latter stages of his career. Okay.
Well, look, we've got some videos from Jermaine Genius and probably one of another absolute amazing goal scorer, Gary Lineker, coming up now that Abs is going to put on him. Jermaine Genius first, and we've got one from Gary Lineker a bit later. I'm going to play that for you now, and then we're going to come back and talk about the trophies that these two helped lead their clubs and countries to.
Can't shy away from that fact that the numbers would have been far greater, not only because of how short it was, but that period of time in a footballer's career, from the age of 28, that 4-year period that you've got, you're almost a different player. You know, you kind of... He amassed a huge amount of experience, even at a young age, so you can imagine the player he would have been for those 4 years. But obviously, you know, when I went to Spurs, you know, the kind of legacy of Jurgen Klinsmann was still there. It was very strong. He was loved by Tottenham fans, even for the couple of seasons that he was there. He was a predator in the box, he really was, and the type of runs he made and goals he scored, he was prolific within that area. So, you know, it's a good contest this.
Thank you. Well, interesting points of view there as well. We're going to move on now and jump into the honours that these two won. So for both club and country. I'll jump to yourself first this time, Adam. We're going to look at what Mr. Klinsmann did. Abs is going to put the graphics up on the screen for us to see. Tell us about some of the things that Klinsmann won in his career.
He won a UEFA Cup with Inter Milan. He won a UEFA Cup with Bayern Munich. He won the Bundesliga with Bayern Munich. And interestingly, that UEFA Cup that he won with Bayern Munich, he set a scoring record in the UEFA Cup that season. That's something that Van Basten has never done. So again, if we're talking about goals, we're talking about his accolades. Then he's done it. He's been there. He's done that. He's also won a World Cup in 1990, and he captained the side, which I think is very, very important. So not only did he have to be the goal scorer, he had to be the leader in the dressing room. He had to set the tone. He had to lead from the front. Again, that's something that Van Basten, I don't think he ever did. He also won a Euros in 1996. And so this is a guy that's pretty much won everything that he could win. If we're talking about a player that is, as I said, leading from the front, is scoring goals, is setting the tempo, being an example to the younger players, is everything you would want in Jurgen Klinsmann.
And about Van Basten, it's an interesting one. Didn't win some of the same things as Klinsmann, but then won more things like domestic titles, European Cups, and of course you're probably going to touch on his personal achievements as well.
I mean, I'll give Klinsmann the World Cup, which obviously is like what everybody wants. But obviously Van Basten did win the Euros. He was a top goal scorer. He's got the most memorable goal ever scored in a final on international level. I don't think anybody can argue that. That volley is just the best peach of a goal you could ever get.
It was all right.
But just to read up, I mean, you have to involve the individual achievements when you're doing Van Basten, not just what he won with teams. This guy was the Ballon d'Or winner 3 times. 3, the Ballon d'Or. That's the best player on the planet.
And can I just add to this? In those days, the Ballon d'Or wasn't about... Nowadays, it's like a big percentage of the vote goes out there to like your Instagram followers and your Twitter followers. Back in... No, and it does Wayne...
It's a popularity competition.
Yeah, now it is a popularity
yeah,
contest.
yeah.
Back in these days, it was any type of player could win it. A defender, a striker, a midfielder, a left back. That doesn't happen anymore. So I think to win 3 in that era is huge.
He was also FIFA World Player of the Year. He got UEFA's Best Player of the Year 3 times. He was a top goal scorer in European competition. He had the Serie A Golden Boot twice. The Dutch League top goal scorer 4 times. Silver Boot winner. Dutch Footballer of the Year. European Golden Boot.
Can Jurgen compete with that?
Of course he can.
Show me.
Because he got Bundesliga top scorer, and in his first season at Tottenham, he scored 30 goals. The only other player to score 30 goals in their first season is Sergio Aguero. So if we're talking comparatively, just to bring it on to the audience viewers that might not have the same context, that shows you the level that he was at.
If he was, you mentioned his leadership skills earlier in terms of dragging Germany over the line and pushing them forward. Why though has he only won 1 league title and no European cups?
Do you know what?
And he played for some great teams.
He did, but he had issues at these teams. So
him personally?
Yeah. So I think he fell out with the manager and a couple of the players at Bayern Munich. So he only spent 1 season there. Who's to say what he would have gone on to do had he played there longer? He also had issues at Spurs, because I think he said that Spurs could only ever get a top 6 finish. And might I just add that once he left Spurs, they finished 6th with the 1 season that he was there. They then finished 8th the season after that, 10th the season after that, and 14th the season after that. So for me, that just signifies the influence that he had over that team. So I think it was personal issues that marred his time at his clubs.
When you look at his personal issues there with Klinsmann, though, would you argue that your temperament and your attitude is a big... People talk about pace, they talk about your passing ability and your shooting accuracy, but is your temperament and your mentality also not an important attribute of your football?
100%. I mean, you can look at players like Boateng or Balotelli. Phenomenal ability, but the mentality has stopped them from being able to fulfill it. So you can't... I get where you're coming from, because I defend Balotelli all the time. The boy is a talent. But if you're having an actual proper conversation, you have to say that temperament does have to come into it. And let's not forget that the 2 years that he was top goal scorer in Italy, we're talking about when it was the best league. I mean, no disrespect to the German league, the Bundesliga, but has it really ever been a top European league? Like Serie A was... It was where it was happening.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
We're going to jump across to Gary Lineker's video now, talking about these gentlemen. We'll be back with you in a few short moments.
Well, they were both prolific, excellent players. Marco van Basten could probably score more exquisite goals. Jurgen was, he was an athlete. He was one of those try-hard players. He could bring everything he had in his game, he would bring out. And great mental strength, great performer in big matches as well, of course. And he scored very spectacular goals as well.
With his mentality, with his energy, he really gives so much to the team, and this helped him the same a lot. He scored 16 goals in the Europe League, 1996, when we won with Bayern Munich. He scored for Tottenham a lot of goals, and he was a top scorer a couple of times in Germany. Sure, when you look for the elegance of the field, this is talking about Van Basten, but we speak now about the number of goals and how many goals he was doing.
Some of them goals, absolutely outstanding. And again, massive thank you to History for providing us with those. You don't normally get to do many YouTube videos where you can actually show goals and footage. It's amazing that History have allowed us to use that. Absolutely brilliant. We're going to move on to the other side of the game now. I'm going to stay with Mr. Van Basten right now with Drifty. Talk to me about the other side to this guy. So yes, goals are important, honours are important, but tell me about his skill, his passing, how he created chances for others. Tell me a bit more and educate the guys out there about that side of Van Basten.
In terms of being like an assist king, he wasn't necessarily one of those type of strikers who's like always looking to pass. He was more of that finisher, more of that, he's the one at the end. He had, he had Hullet and he had those kind of guys, Rijkaard. He had like all the, he did play in a phenomenal team. I'm not gonna act like he didn't. But his main attributes within himself, the pace the guy had. Like, and in those days, pace was one of the things that it was a bit of a rarity. Like, it wasn't like now, like everybody now is just like rapid and everyone's quick. Back then, you could tell when someone was fast because they were few and far between. He was one of them. The feet, the balance, just everything about the guy. Like, as I said, I've always heard people talk about how good Van Basten is. When you watch him, go and watch Van Basten. He is literally one of the greatest people I've ever watched a video clip of. I know YouTube can make you look a bit better, but the guy, he had everything.
But this guy's career stats back him up. He's not just like one of those YouTube guys.
Oh yeah,
that looks amazing.
And the thing, if you talk to all the legends in the game, they will all say Van Basten is the best player they've ever seen, or best player they've ever played with, or do you know what I mean? And like, if you have someone like Ruud Gullit telling you how good this guy is, he must have been that good.
Talk to me about Mr. Klinsmann in that same respect.
Yeah, it sounds brilliant, and I think it's funny that you mentioned his pace, because there's a cute little anecdote about Klinsmann that his brother was a sprinter, and Klinsmann, because he had a similar physique to his brother, he actually went behind Stuttgart's back, the coaches at Stuttgart, to work on his sprints. They didn't want him to do it, just so he could get that extra yard of pace, just so he could have that extra burst of acceleration to get past defenders who used to nudge him. I think you mentioned Franco Baresi used to always elbow him whenever he played against him. So this is the type of professional and dedicated athlete that we're talking about. And everyone praises Ronaldo for having that elite mentality to put the extra hours in, stay behind after training and do what he needs to do to get his body right. Jurgen Klinsmann was doing this from way back, way back. So that's very important. Also, I think this is important, although some people might say that it's not. He was also a very good person. He was a model professional. He used to give to charity. He used to be a philanthropist. He used to be concerned about a philanthropist.
You said that well. You said it good.
Thank you. He used to be concerned about the environment. And I think this just paints the picture of this guy being a very well-rounded, as I said, model individual that other people could learn from, which ties into him being a captain. So it's not, as much as he was a goal scorer, he was also somebody that worked on other parts of his game to make himself the peak striker.
I would say Jurgen Klinsmann probably for me has the most iconic celebration that I remember, to be fair. The slide. Like, I mean, that was, you couldn't do it in my playground at school or in PE because we only had concrete to play on, but you felt like doing it. And I remember
even on grass, I didn't have the balls to do that.
It was scary.
In case you mess it up,
he had a serious celebration. We're gonna bring up the YouTube poll, the Twitter poll in a moment again. Before that, though, some of our Ultimate Football fan YouTube influencers have again sent us in some videos talking to us about their opinions on these two players. We're going to play that for you now, and we'll be back in a few minutes.
Bro, Klinsmann, fam. Come on, fam. Like, it has to be Klinsmann, bro. And do you need to ask the why? Do you need to ask why?
Why?
Why? Because he played for the right team, blood. That's why, fam. Bun Van Basten, Josh Snow, blood. I said it.
Oh, controversial. I go Klinsmann. Yeah, Klinsmann was a great player. He was great, and when he came over to England as well for Spurs, he did fantastic football. So yeah.
Both had terrific spells in Italy. One came to England, basically created diving. Played for Tottenham, so I'm going to have to go for Van Basten because Klinsmann played for Tottenham. I can't be doing that. Van Basten as well. All those amazing goals, that like dynamic trio of him, Rijkaard and Gullit at AC Milan, just all the stories you hear. It was an absolutely superb footballer. Just have his career cut short though is what was quite sad.
I think I prefer Klinsmann actually. Yeah, he's got some good goals and I think favourite of mine. Yeah.
I mean, this is tough, but I'm gonna have to go with Van Basten because I feel Van Basten, if he had been fit, because he had a lot of injuries, if he had had less injuries, he'd been one of the best strikers of all time. But even with those injuries, Van Basten is one of the best strikers of all time. And as good as Klinsmann was, Klinsmann has never scored that ridiculous volley, the best volley of all time that Van Basten scored. So for me, as far as a striker and striking that ball, I'm going with Van Basten all the way.
Now I'll go for my dive. Okay, Klinsmann! Of course, guy played very well in the World Cup as well, and I think he led his team as well as a coach as well. He did well with the German team. Probably set up the blueprint that they're working with. But as a player, I know that's what you're asking. I will go for Klinsmann.
Thank you to everybody that sent those in to us. Having a look here on the Twitter poll, not many voters so far, but Van Basten leading the way on 76% of the vote.
Smart people.
comment as well came through in here as well, saying, Adam, how can Klinsmann be a model individual? He dives so much. So yes, we know his celebration was a dive, but what's your rebuttal to people saying he was a bit of basically a cheat?
Yeah, it's interesting because someone asked Klinsmann about that in an interview, and he said that he thinks he got the diving tag from a tackle that or a challenge he got into with a defender called Monzon, and he said that it's interesting that people would call him a diver when he had a 15-centimeter gash in his leg, which is proof that he got challenged. And he said ever since then he was never able to shake the tag of being a diver. And it's interesting as well because when he came to England, he first came, the media were saying, "Oh, he's such a diver, he's such a cheat." After he scored all the 30 goals for Spurs, people were like, "Ah, yeah, it's all right, just put the diving to the side." To which, to me, shows how flippant and how quickly everyone can be to change.
That is.
He did dive though. He did dive quite a bit. I do remember a bit.
But do you not think? Look, I've kind of, I've got no skin in this game at all, either side. But I think sometimes with football players, something can be attached to him. Dele Alli, for instance, he's had a few dives, but it's if Dele Alli dive, everyone's watching and waiting for him to dive. This season, I saw Jack Wilshere dive at least 3 or 4 times for free kicks or penalties. Yet no one talks about it. Sometimes some players, they get labelled as a diver more than others. When I think everyone's at it. Do you get what I mean? It's like everyone.
But you do get the odd people that go a bit too far. I remember Drogba, as phenomenal as he was, he was a diver. Like, it wasn't a label. He was a diver.
I'll give you an example, right? Jermaine Defoe bit someone in football. No one labels him a biter.
Did he?
Suarez. Well, this is the point. You don't even know. He bit when he was. I think when he was a West Ham player.
I think I do remember.
He bit someone on the shoulder. Now, I'm not saying he needs to be ridiculous, but Luis Suarez bit someone. And I know he ended up biting another. I know he ended up biting 2 people in the end. I know he did. But
it was that second bite.
But the outrage was already. Actually, no, I think that was his 3rd one. Actually, I think he bit someone. I'm done. Sorry, it's over. But I don't know. Some players always seem to get, no matter what they do. Look at Raheem Sterling at the moment. No matter what he does, he gets more attention than any other player in the England teams. You know what I mean?
The media needs to get it.
And you get that with Jurgen Klopp. Yeah, it's. Yeah, there we go. But Klinsmann was the original sort of hate figure.
Yeah, exactly.
Was that because he was German?
I think that also has something to do with it as well. Because before he came to England, he knocked England out in the Euros. So
anyone would think there was an issue between England and Germany.
Yeah,
there is. Do you know what? Actually, in sport,
I wonder
they're the one team I want to beat the most out of everyone. And it's interesting. So many rivalries on international level, they do stem from war, like in terms of things like that. Like obviously the English, Irish and Welsh, there's always like rivalries there. England, France, England, Italy, England, it's basically the wars.
England, everybody.
England, everybody. Why? Oh.
Yeah. Let's not.
Anyway, Twitter poll. We've done the Twitter poll. We're thereabouts. I'm going to pick a winner now, though. Honestly, both of you have debated fantastically well for our final show. Great points made from our YouTubers and, of course, Gary Lineker, Jermaine Genius and the like. But if I'm going to pick who's the better footballer, goal scoring levels equal. I think what they've both done for their respective clubs and countries is equal. But I'm going to go with a guy who I think was simply, for me, a slightly better footballer, a bit more iconic footballer. What was that, Ebbs?
Didn't discuss being a teammate.
Didn't I discuss being a teammate? It don't matter because we're going to roll on from this. I'm going to go with Van Basten on this. That's who I'm going to go with. I just think, do you know what, Jurgen Klopp, absolutely amazing, a world-class striker.
You just said Klopp again.
Why? Do you know what? I put that in my own head. It's gone. I'm going to call him Jurgen. All Germans look the same, don't they? That's what I'm allowed to say that one. It's cool. They do. But no, Klinsmann, world-class striker, world-class finisher. Van Basten, for me, is a world-class football player. I think there is a difference between the two. Everybody who tuned in, thank you very, very much. Make sure you check out the hashtag History of Football on Twitter. That will lead you to all the different documentaries and shows that are going on history at this moment in time. But if anyone actually out there really is a football fanatic, go check it out. All the information for that, again, is in our description below. Smash the like button, hit the share button, and subscribe, depending whatever platform you're watching this on. But everyone, take care. Good night. Drifty, thank you very much for our final show. Adam, as ever, quality.
Play.
Thank you.
Well done, you two. Take care. Good night. God bless. And we'll see you all again very, very soon.